So we'll start at the beginning if we could. If my research is correct, you guys were part of one of the biggest open calls for child casting in film history. Can you walk us through the experience of how this film came into your lives?
Yeah, you want to go?
Yeah, mine's really quick. It was like an audition, and then they said like, "Hey, it's you got the part. Come on down and work."
Was that
So one
easy?
audition?
Yeah, because I think like one or two maybe, and then it was just sort of there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy crap. That's
Yeah.
it was awesome.
wow, that's like the
It was really
easiest
quick.
audition story I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
I mean,
Like,
it was just I did a lot of auditions. So
I've never heard anyone have that easy of a time not getting a job, not booking a job. Like I went back 7 times and then they told me to, Eddie? Remember?
Yeah, so you know what, it's weird. I've never had a grasp of really how big the casting call was because I wasn't really an actor, you know what I mean? So later I found out that pretty much like every young actor at that time went up for that role. I was just sitting at a boys club in Pasadena, and Mally Finn, the casting director, came up and asked me if I wanted to try out for a movie, and went and did a lot of auditions, man. I mean, yeah, it wasn't that easy, but and it was just kind of one of those things, man. I mean, it started off as like maybe a shot in the dark, I didn't know if, it was, even as a kid, you're just like, this is never going to happen. And the more and more it just went along, I started taking it much more seriously, and man.
Oh.
Yeah. So and then there you go, man. It's,
The rest is history.
Yeah.
So part of the reason kids like me thought you two were like the coolest friggin' dudes alive was, the fact that dirt bike was a lot cooler than my Schwinn. So do you guys remember anything about working with the dirt bikes? And was there a lot of training that went into that for both you guys? Or
I was riding bitch, so I had no training
No training
whatsoever.
to ride
Yeah,
bitch?
they just
No
were like,
safety
get on
protocol?
the bike,
like if we lose Eddie, the movie's shut down. Like we can get.
get on the back of the bike. Eddie's learning how to ride
He'll
it,
be fine.
drive it,
If you
but it's
can
okay.
imagine. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't seen him in a while, and he's like, yeah, you remember we were driving on the bike, and it was really, really, kind of freaky, because you didn't really know how to ride that bike, and I was sitting on the back of it. See, I thought I was doing great. But,
Yeah. I'm going like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember they were doing all those scenes in the wash, and I guess it was super slick, and even the stunt people were dropping.
Yeah.
'Cause
We
it
did
was
one
like-
shot where we went
Yeah, we
across
did
that.
get one shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
We
funny.
didn't fall or anything, did we?
No. There was
Good,
no
thank
falling.
God. Yeah.
Too funny. So another key ingredient to the coolness of your characters and the film itself is, of course, the Guns N' Roses song "You Could Be Mine." Were you guys aware that was what was going to be coming out of the boombox while you were filming? And do you guys get to see GNR live anytime you want now?
No.
Hey, we pushed your song. Like,
Yeah, no,
let us
no.
in.
That would be nice.
Yeah, actually,
should.
I remember I was given a cassette tape with "I Want to Be Sedated" by the Ramones and "Higher Ground" by the Chili Peppers, and then at some point they were like, "All right, here's another cassette. We're gonna use this Guns N' Roses song." I was like 16 at the time, and I remember being like, "I'm pretty much the shit. I have a copy of the
yeah.
Guns N' Roses song before it comes out."
Oh my God! Wow, it's been incredible. And it was Arnold that kind of suggested the song, right? Do you guys ever hear that story? I hear that it was like Arnold handpicked that song, that they zeroed in on Guns N' Roses at one point, and he was like, "This is the song." But
Nice.
It was a good call.
yeah, it was a very good call. So another thing I want to ask about, one person who contributed a lot to the film, and I find sometimes that it seems like they don't get enough credit, is the VFX artist Dennis Murin. Was he on set a lot, and how did they explain to you like all the work he was going to do? When you guys are young kids, no one had ever really seen CGI before. What did they tell you guys? Like, oh yeah, we're going to do this stuff in a computer, and it's going to morph and.
When we were doing it, and I'd never done a movie at all, so I had no idea, what it was. I do remember like reading it, and the way it described it was like liquid mercury and all this shit. Yeah. And I was like, how are they gonna do this? And then you see it, and it's like, you got little like, tape X's and styrofoam. I mean, I don't know, not styrofoam. I mean, it was like whatever the fuck that was. You know what I mean? And then and it's just like, and I remember asking Jim, like, how are you gonna make him like morph? Like, what does that even mean? And then he explained it to me, and I'm like, okay, this is too technical. I don't know what you're talking about. And yeah, I mean, yeah, they were on to something. I mean, yeah, that was like the first CGI. I mean, I think he did, right, The Abyss?
Yeah.
Before that, and I think he was explaining, he was explaining to me, he was like, oh yeah, we're going to do something like, that was in The Abyss with the thing, and I mean, I just couldn't put my head around it. I mean, it was really hard to put your head around some of that script, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because, I mean, there was a lot of practical effects then, but like, yeah, it was, I mean, like how, I don't even know. Yeah, it was like,
That's what makes
it's
it
going to
so
morph
great.
into the ground and come out like, it's like,
It's
yeah.
like sort of like visual and then CG. It's like it had a great mix of everything that was, like organic stuff. I mean, it was just, we were in Burbank, and there was a panel with some of the visual effects guys that were on the panel, and it was like, why are they talking to us? Talk to these guys. Like they did, you know what I mean? Like this is where it all happens. It was awesome.
And it's amazing, that a lot of the CGI in T2 still looks amazing today. Like I see new stuff and it just looks so crappy. It looks so tacky. It looks too shiny. It looks this, that. You look at the reflections and the shadows and things. It's like, how are they able to nail that on like a low powered Mac by today's standards?
You know what, dude? Like, I hope one day they go back to more of the practical and using CGI when they need it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because
Totally.
I was like, you watch movies like Alien and shit like that, and it's like you see I don't know, it just feels more authentic to me, at least.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Especially Cameron's Aliens. That is, oh man. The Queen.
Dude,
oh, that
yeah.
Queen is like, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget
about it.
Forget about it.
We're in Jersey.
Yeah, we're in Jersey. I apologize. So what was the vibe between yourselves and Robert Patrick like on set? Did he like keep his distance from you guys to try and keep you guys a little scared of him, or was he like warm, friendly guy in between takes?
No, I mean he was nice.
I mean, we've done some of these panels.
Yeah, like
he
he was
describes it as like he was like kind of keeping his distance. I remember him being like
just
a
being
sweetheart.
super nice.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like I definitely. Yeah, God, he was so brilliant.
He was.
In that
He was
role,
such a
man.
badass.
Because I mean,
Amazing.
I think about it, and it's just I remember looking, back at him shooting, and I'm like, whoa, who is this weird guy with big ears? Like, like I mean, he's like walking around like a grasshopper.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like weird, and then he, man. I mean, dude, he was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like he really was.
He really
man.
was.
He's such a talented actor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. So one thing I've always loved about James Cameron films are his willingness to use old school, low budget techniques like front screen
Wait a minute.
projection.
You know what? I think. Hold on one second. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, by all means.
So I remember this story. I don't know if it's. I remember hearing on set, and somebody should confirm this with Robert. But I remember like hearing a rumor or something that basically while they were shooting the scene where he like, comes in the bubble, like and he's naked or whatever. Literally, he stood up and a train went right by. Like, I guess they were shooting right by, like, a train track. And he was like, yeah! Dude, like, it's kind of getting, sorry. Just went off on that note. But,
that happened.
Yeah, I'm not, that must have happened, dude. Yeah. So anyway, move on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, going back to practical effects and stuff. And one thing I love about Cameron's films is, even on this movie, which, was the dawn of CG, there's still like some old school, low budget techniques from his Roger Corman days, like front screen projection. And he can make that stuff look better than anybody else. Yeah. So I was wondering if you guys had any memories of shooting any of that stuff or just of him being like a low tech wizard in general.
I definitely remember doing the rear projection, and there was a lot of it. We were a lot of stuff in the car. A lot of the scene where we're getting chased by the semi, we're doing a lot of these rear projection, and I've never done that since. And I thought that was maybe like a normal way to do things, but and I think yes, it was a very old school. You know, when I see it, it's like in a lot of older movies, a very old school way to do it. So I'm kind of stoked, man. I mean, there's a lot of things, man, that you know, like when I got into the business, everything seemed to change overnight, but T2 was like one of the last movies that, like, I remember them cutting the movie on an RE with film, you know.
Wow.
And it's like everything was just very old school, you know. And then you look back and you're like, oh man, like yeah, it was really cool to just see them sit there because they were on set all the time editing, and you see them in there just cutting it, basically a scissors and putting it together, and wow. yeah, it's a trip.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. So you talked about, this movie being the last, that you saw cut on film. For a lot of us, it was kind of the first of a lot of things. Obviously the first, like, CG movie. But it was the last in the sense of we haven't seen a movie infect the pop culture as much as Terminator 2 did since Terminator 2. Like, that summer, it was everywhere. Like, everywhere. I mean, kids had school folders with the T-800 on it, and there were action figures and toys for an R-rated action movie. Even today, when a movie makes like $1 billion, like, it doesn't seem to have that kind of lasting cultural impact. It doesn't seem to, like, dominate an entire summer. It's like, okay, how many more of these can we get out this summer? So, I mean, were you guys aware of just, like, the magnitude of that when the movie came out? Like, holy crap, I've never seen any movie do this before.
I mean, I guess so. It was such a huge production.
It was, yeah. It was
I mean,
the biggest production ever at that point, right?
It was amazing. So it's like, something like that, and then with everybody that was a part of it was, you kind of, I got definitely sense there was something special, For sure. How was it not going to be?
Yeah, right.
With the assembled crew and personnel.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Jim, like I already knew his movies. I knew Aliens. I knew, like, Terminator before that. I knew that it was going to be big. It's weird. I didn't know that it would have such a lasting freaking impact. I didn't know that, today we would be sitting at our tables and kids that were our age when we made that movie would still be coming up to us, just, loving it. So that's awesome because, now you kind of can realize, oh, wow, you're part of a classic,
absolutely.
like something that's just going to go down in history. And that's tight, man. You don't get to say that much in this business.
Hell yeah. I mean, so, this movie is absolutely, So, yeah, I mean, this movie's such a classic. It didn't just change the way movies were made. It changed the way movies were named. Like, did that ever shock you in the 90s where you saw, like, oh, there's D2 now, and B2, and C2, and, like, everything G3? Like, every movie you had that abbreviated, like, number naming scheme thing.
That's why I never noticed that.
You never noticed that?
No.
Oh, my God. I lived in Blockbuster Video as a kid and stuff. So I'd just walk, I'd get, like, the one movie my dad would let me rent, and I'd just walk and critique every other cover, like, D2. What are they thinking? Like,
D2. And then it's like a porn movie, right? Right?
Yeah, ASS2. God, what is this? I don't know. But I am being a little selfish with the time here, so I do want to give the audience a chance to get in, guys. Any questions you guys have for the amazing cast here? Throw hands up there. Oh, we got one right here, and then we'll go to right there.
Eddie, did you get any chance at the time when the movie came out to play T2 video games? Because you're featured in every one of them. You can't play as yourself, but you're still, you're still in the game,
Oh, dude, so I've always been, like, a huge fan of video games. Like, I grew up, like, literally when I went to Japan, I was like, I want to meet Shigeru Miyamoto before anybody knew who that motherfucker was. But, yeah, dude. So I was stoked because they brought me in. It was, who was it? Was it Bally or something like that? They were doing the game, and they were just they did the motion capture kind of thing, and So I was stoked. So yeah, I really wish they gave me one of those, man. But yeah, I went to an arcade when it came out, and I like got like $10 worth of quarters and went through the whole thing, and yeah.
How mobbed did you get at that arcade? That must have, like, you're there playing T2. Kids must have just
I don't think
surrounded
anybody
you.
even noticed.
What?
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
Oh my God.
You had the funniest story.
yeah.
He was talking about when we were doing the thing, and for whatever reason, Eddie got stuck in the arcade scene playing Missile Command.
Oh yeah.
And I had like a legit like video game, and he was like, "Why do I have the crappy video game?"
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna get like the 8-bit video game. This just sucks.
Yeah, see, this shows the patience of Jim Cameron. Is because Jim had him playing Aliens, the video game. It was like the arcade game, and it's like this cool side scroller with like, aliens popping out and shit. And I'm just,
Missile Command.
I'm like, I get Missile Command. I'm like, Jim, how come he gets the cool game? Dude, no, it would be better if I'm playing this game. And he's like, I'm sure he's like, you know what? I'm the fucking director, man. Like, you know what I mean?
That's it. No games for anybody.
Yeah.
He's
No,
probably-
but he was cool. He's like, he kept it. I don't know. He was very patient. He's like, no. I think this is better for the thing. I was like, wow. Yeah, I was telling him, I was like so embarrassed about that. I was like, Jesus, man. I was having my first, kind of freak out Starfit Madonna episode. You know
Diva
what I mean?
moment? Your first diva moment?
My first diva moment.
Over Missile Command.
I don't want fucking Missile Command. This sucks.
I need more bits.
Yeah, I need more bits. Yeah. And of course, I'm like, give him the shitty one.
Like, damn it, I'm John Connor. John Connor doesn't fuck with Missile Command.
Then, yeah, I didn't realize we were going to be playing, what was it? Afterburner.
Yeah.
So
see,
then I got the
you got the good one
I
for
got
that
the good
one. You got
on
the
that
right
one,
in.
So, yeah.
So we had another question up the front row there.
Just wanted to say thank you for all the years of entertainment with the movie. Thank you for Budnick. Salute Your Shorts is amazing. So
Thanks.
I just wanted to say that. What's your fondest memories on set? Do you have any funny Arnold stories? Any funny Linda Hamilton stories?
I was super stoked. I was just happened to be a fly on the wall on set the day that they launched the semi truck into they did
wow.
that big. That was super memorable just to watch something of that.
Yeah, that's
Like,
really
you know
cool.
what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that you get one shot at something like that. So like the preparation for it and everything like that was pretty cool just to sort of witness something like that. Yeah.
That was a pretty cool memory. Yeah, just in LA, in the middle of the valley, just witnessing a semi truck, Again, practical effects, man.
Yeah.
But,
That whole sequence is perfection. I've watched it 1,000 times. I'm still on the edge of my seat every time I watch that. The chase
Same
and
here.
the truck going over and all that.
You know, that was the first thing that I ever saw edited. Because honestly, this is. See, again, I'm an idiot. I'm an asshole. But I mean, I remember because so much of it was so slow when you're taking. I never done a movie, so I'm like. I remember being like, Jim, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, this is, wow, okay. Yeah.
Guess you're the director.
Yeah. And then he pulled me. He's like, I want to show you something. And he took me into the editing room, and he showed me the whole chase through the mall, through the sewers. And he got sound, had sound on it and shit. I just, my jaw dropped. I was just like, holy shit, because that was, and then I was like, oh, man, this is going to be badass. You know what I mean? Because it's, weird, and you're a kid. We're, they put handlebars on an apple box, and then you're like,
Yeah.
It's and then, the truck comes up, it doesn't do anything. You're like, you know what I mean? But then it's...
There's a lot, we're in school, and it'd be it'd get called out, and it's like, okay, here's the thing. So you're gonna go zip, okay, you're done. Yeah. 10 seconds of a motorcycle going through an alleyway,
Wow. Yeah. It was it's fascinating, when you're a kid and you see that being done for the very first time. It's just, it's amazing. And it's amazing that Jim had the eye throughout all of this. I mean, that's what it takes, is like a really good director
Yeah.
and somebody who can see the whole thing in their head while they're doing it, and it just never gets lost. I don't know. It's just crazy.
It's
a
the
trip.
best chase scene in any movie, I
Oh,
think.
hands down.
Yeah.
Definitely. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
We had one up here.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about your involvement in Terminator Dark Fate, if you can tell us anything?
Yeah. I can't say shit.
I had to ask. I had to ask.
Yes.
Nothing.
He
All
asked
right.
'cause
All
I
right. Listen,
couldn't.
you guys really want to know what happens in the whole thing? Psych.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
don't have to
yeah.
wait too much longer. Luckily, it's coming out soon.
It's November 1st. It's a little role, man. It's a little role, but yeah, man, you know, go check it out, dude. You know what I mean?
You know, speaking of Terminator Dark Fate, I know Tim Miller, the director, was quoted recently as saying about Terminator that he thinks over the years since T2, the brand has become a little bit tainted and stuff like that. And I was curious what your thoughts are on the intervening years between then and now. Like, did you see the other movies? Did you ever watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles? Is there any things that you did enjoy? You know, I don't want to force you to put a bad quote out there, but is there anything that you have enjoyed that they've done with Terminator since you guys have been involved?
You know, they're still talking about it to this day. So, you know, it's got quite the legacy, I think.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
You know.
For sure.
It's cool. Yeah. You know what? It's always been a soft spot for me, and I'm glad to sort of reclaim the role. You know what I mean?
Hell yes.
But it was my fault. You know, to be honest, I was kind of I was supposed to do the Terminator 3, but kind of was partying a little too hard back in those days,
Weren't we all?
And when it came out, I was like, I can't. I didn't even want to see it. I didn't want to and I've kind of avoided it ever since. So
Well,
yeah. But
I can't sit here and tell you that you're missing out on an amazing entry in the franchise or anything like that.
Yeah.
And no disrespect.
Nick Stahl, though, man. I mean, he's a really I think. He's a solid dude, man. I know him.
I saw you guys actually posted convention pictures recently together, which blew my mind. I was like, 2 John Connors at the same time? Like, incredible.
Yeah, and Kristana Loken, man, she's beautiful, and
Oh, yeah.
she's very talented. I've worked with her on a project, and yeah, man, so I don't know.
No disrespect to Christian Bale either, but you're everyone's John Connor, man. You are everyone's favorite, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Speaking of, I think there may be an award with someone's name on it on this stage here. If we have a moment, I'd like to invite Mr. Chris Waters up on stage because he looks like he has something very cool in his hand. Oh, man. I have a feeling this is going to be pretty epic.
Making those. Yeah, man. Dude,
shit.
Oh, dude. Thank you so much. I'm waiting to give this deal.
Yes.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah, turn that around. Let the...
Do some nasty things to this.
Uh-oh, do some nasty things.
All right.
Here, give that a little spin around. Let the audience take a look at it there.
Yeah, sorry.
Let them see
I
that.
made it. I'm solving for me now. See? Isn't that dope?
Hell yeah, right? Amazing Chris Waters, everybody.
He made this. I saw him walking by earlier, and he made this. This is like, yeah. Huh? Oh wow, man.
Absolutely.
There's like a
That's
hidden
freaking-
face on the back here too.
So you guys only saw the Terminators in LA. That's what they look like in New Jersey.
Yeah.
East Coast Resistance is a very different battle.
That or on acid, one or the other, man.
Wow.
You know? Like, yeah. Sorry.
So do we have any more questions out there, guys? Any fans? Anything you want to know? Yeah, I've got one right here.
Just so you know, I refuse to watch Terminator 3 because you were not John Connor. Sorry.
Thank you.
I don't care. So my question is, because you were in a film of this caliber, what happened to your social lives after that?
Good question.
I guess I went from being a nerd to everyone thinking I'm cool but still being a nerd. I don't know. You know what I mean? guess that's the best way I could describe it. Yeah.
Life just moved on. I
Yeah,
mean,
life
life, you
moves
know.
on.
And
just went on to the next thing.
And you were saying you were doing Salute Your Shorts at the same time, right?
Yeah, I was doing. So there were days that I would be either AM there, and then like at lunchtime go to the other one, and then or vice versa, and
Yeah, you were shooting that at the same time.
At the same time, and I was making at nighttime I was making a record
Oh my God.
for Interscope. So yeah, I was busy. Back
Dude,
then.
I remember meeting you on set, and I was like, dude, because he knew he was a professional already. He knew what he was doing, man.
Yeah.
You know what I
different
mean?
strokes,
So
yeah.
it was
It was
pretty
fun, man.
impressive. I was like, yeah.
Very cool. Now, so being that you had already started Salute Your Shorts, was the vibe with that cast different after T2 came out? Were they like, roll the red carpet now?
I feel like that was the sort of, I think that was the last little bit that we were doing
Really?
from it. Yeah, I feel like it was right. It was like the tail end of it.
Oh, so you never got to like flex in front of your Salute Your Shorts castmates?
Yeah, no. I'm 5'3". I'm not much of a flexer.
Yeah, clearly I am too. I'm rippling, right? Yeah, we'll let Arnold do the flexing. So we had more questions out there, guys. We got one in the back. Okay, and then we'll come back to the front.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
How you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Good. So my question is that what do you think of the real life scientists are thinking of creating artificial intelligence? Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I knew you were gonna dressed in a clown. I knew he was gonna get up and ask like a deep fucking question. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Saw that coming up Broadway.
The impending
That's,
dangers of artificial intelligence. Yeah, right.
I don't know. For me, I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I don't think they've gotten the quantum computers or anything to do anything too nuts yet, right? But that's fascinating. That's just fascinating.
It seems like we're well on the way.
Yeah, we're well on the way to something. And you know what? The fact of the matter is we are all way too curious to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, either we're all going down or we're gonna have blowjobs recorded in our mind constantly just to recall. I don't know, something.
God,
sorry, dude. I have the worst sense of humor ever. But yeah.
It's an R-rated film. We can have an R-rated panel. I think it's all right.
No, but yeah, man. I think I don't know. It's fascinating, man. It's fascinating. I really do believe like science and all that is like on a new cusp, on a new. frontier right now. Yeah. What did they have? Did you hear about that thing? Where was it like they had to turn off like the two computers talking somewhere? Was it at Facebook or something like that? And because they were like literally like went into a different language so they couldn't be heard or understood, and humans couldn't understand them. Did you guys hear about that? Yeah.
That seems super sketchy.
That's sketchy. Yeah, they went. They basically communicated to be like, all right, we need to talk about some private shit. And then they had to turn them off, that's crazy, dude.
Dude, Miles Dyson is still out there hacking away. Oh, that's scary.
Hey, dude, but it'd be kind of badass, right?
It would be cool. I don't know.
If we're all gonna go out, let's just go out together, man.
If we all,
Fuck it.
it'd be cool if we all get good guy Arnold Terminators to like ride dirt bikes with and do.
Just get Arnold, man. He's still kicking.
Hell yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's still terminating.
Yeah,
So,
man.
Fucking A, good for him.
All right, cool.
We had another one, I believe it was. Where was it? Here. Yes. Right on.
Thanks, guys. You're great. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much. Take care.
Something not about Terminator. Eddie, you work with many stars. How was it working with Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson?
Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson. Right. Wow. That was amazing, man. Yeah, it was, it's funny, dude. Like, not many people know that movie, but yeah, I mean, I got to work with Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson, man. I'm mostly just because, I mean, I think Liam is a lot like I am, or we just kind of just get into the scene while we're doing it, But there is something about Meryl Streep, man, that I was blown away by, because it seems just crazy, because I remember just thinking, like, man, like, she can just be laughing, whatever, and then they say action. She can be crying her heart out and give, like, the most amazing performance, like, ever. And it's mind-boggling. I'm just like, you're psychotic or something, aren't you, man? Like, you shouldn't be able to do this, Like, it's amazing. But she's just so fucking talented. She just is so, I mean, she's one of the great actors of our time. I really do believe that, it was great. You know what? I was a really big fan of one of her movies. It's called, what is it called? It was like the one where she's like, where they're like, I don't know, like they die. You know what I mean? Death becomes. No, not that. And it's like Mel Brooks or something, right? Or is it
Is it Albert Brooks?
Albert Brooks.
Albert-
Yeah. Defending Your Life.
Defending Your Life.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yes. I remember loving that movie, dude. Yeah.
It's like a great cable movie.
Yeah. It's just one of those movies. Like every time it was on, I would just watch it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
They used the Universal Studios trams in that movie.
Yeah.
Right? It was like the Universal Studios trams.
Anytime I see that in a movie, that takes me back. That's like it's such a nostalgic era, the Universal Studio Tour stuff.
Yeah.
Was there one more up front? Right? Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Since you guys are big child actor stars, were there any roles that you wanted but that you couldn't get or that you didn't get?
I remember auditioning for the Vegas Vacation.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was weird because that is, what was it, like the late 80s or something? And I remember hearing back that they were like, all right, they really like what you're doing, but it's like TV people don't do. It was like, TV didn't do movies and movies didn't do TVs.
They gave you that riff?
I know, it's bullshit, right?
I'm in T2.
Yeah. It was really weird, though. It was funny.
Yeah.
I'm in the biggest friggin' movie ever made.
It was awesome.
T2. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's weird how it's changed. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that's...
Oh my God, are you kidding me? There's like so many roles, man. Like, that's all we do is like go, audition and try to get roles. And honestly, the
pack
most
up and move on.
stressful experience I think in acting is trying to get a job.
I bet, yeah.
Once you have the job, I think it's a pretty nice gig.
Do we have other questions out there, guys? Yeah, cool, going. Cool.
So we talked about how big so Terminator 2 was probably the most expensive movie ever made back then, and coming out in '91. Are you guys surprised all these years later of the impact that it still has on everyone? People still reference, T2 to this day about anything. Again, like the Facebook thing, like everything is Skynet, everything is based on that film. And everyone kind of goes back to when they say who's John Connor, it's Ed Furlong. Are you guys surprised by that at all?
Yeah, we were just talking about that kind of. Yeah.
It's just one of those movies. It's that just it has it's sort of a life of its own.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like they pass along from one generation to the next.
Yeah, I think this movie will be around till the end of time. And it's actually an interesting thing I wanted to riff on, because I remember when we were all waiting for the VHS to come out, and it seemed to be like almost bigger than the theatrical release. It was like legendary, like kids like at school, like everyone was talking. I got physically sick at school, I think, so I could go home and watch T2 on tape.
Talk about a lost time, man. Like when you get a DVD or a video, there wasn't like Netflix and a billion other things out there, to watch. Like, it's insane, yeah.
It's crazy. But do you guys have any memory of that, like building up to the VHS release, like how much it got a big push too? Like even just it was everywhere on TV. It was a huge. It was probably the biggest VHS release ever, I think. It must have been. I don't know if people
Funny.
keep track
I
of those
don't
things.
remember. I did see it at a drive-in. That's like
wow.
a date myself back to when they had drive-ins.
Saw it driving.
I saw it at a drive-in.
That's so
It didn't
cool.
have the impact at a drive-in that it did have.
In a regular
Yeah.
theater?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, wow.
Was it like you put it on and the speakers in your car?
Yeah,
I
a little
remember, right?
box hanging out the window.
Yeah.
And then, another thing about T2 on home video I think is interesting is that whatever way they come out with to do home video, T2 is one of the first movies to come out on every format. Like Laserdisc, T2, DVD, we're right there. Like a couple, many versions on DVD. They did like an HD VHS thing, and T2 was one of the only movies that got released on it. Like, do you guys ever think about, like, man, whatever way they invent to watch movies, T2 is going to be the first one to the party.
Of course. Yeah, they always do that. It's
Yeah.
always like, I guess, yeah. I mean, it seems to me like you always see it, like, Best Buy or whatever, like whenever the new thing comes out, it's like 4K, it'll be like one of the first
Oh, totally.
kind of
And
things
and
there.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, like that and Jurassic Park and...
Yeah, there's a couple,
Yeah.
other movies that are, kind of
Yeah.
distantly behind T2 in that regard. I really feel like that is like the demo, home video format movie. Like, well, let's see what T2 looks like this way, Like we're
Yeah.
going to invent 3D, 4K, upside down,
Yeah.
VR vision. They're going to put T2 out in that way.
Hey, well, why not, man?
Fucking A. And Cameron's going to like make it great. He'll be like, well, I'll handle the conversion process and I'll make it phenomenal.
Yeah,
So.
Jim's been, like, I remember when the special edition came out.
Right.
Like...
Which was very first, not a lot of movies had that before T2.
Yeah, I think Aliens had one.
Right.
And then, I mean, I remember Jim was really actively involved in it, and he brought us in, and yeah.
Speaking of the special editions, do you guys have any scenes that, from the special editions or that were cut in general that, like, maybe your favorite, scenes of the deleted scenes, something that you kind of hope would have been in the theatrical version?
I remember when we were doing the movie, it was crazy because we finished in either really early June, and I think they were gonna open up in July 4th, which is crazy because they had like a month to finish up this after we finished shooting. But yeah, I remember being at Skywalker Ranch, and we were looping the film and ADR, and then Jim told me, like, yeah, we're gonna have to cut the scene where you and Linda, are like, yeah, with the chip.
The chip, yeah.
And that was my audition scene.
Whoa.
So I was like, oh no, really? Like, really? And he's like, yeah, we got to cut it out for time,
I always been partial to the alternate ending too. I always thought, like, I don't know if I prefer it to the ending that the theatrical cut has, but where it's like in the future and Linda Hamilton has like the old makeup on and stuff like that. Something about that ending that I don't know. I kind of always had a soft spot for that. Do you remember how the change in endings came about? Was that something Jim ever talked to you guys about?
No. It seems, I guess, right? Like, what was the ending like? It was like she was in an old, like a park or something.
Yeah, she's in a
like
park,
that?
and they have the guy who played old John Connor at the beginning of the movie, but now he's like John fights a different battle now in the
they're
Senate.
Like playing on a
and he's playing with
playground
his
or something.
kids. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Future-looking playground.
They probably did that so they could leave a sequel. Like kind of keep it open for a sequel. or
Oh,
something.
that's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
that is probably what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah.
That's very true. So one more before I let you guys go. I just have to ask about T2 3D Battle Across Time, because again we were talking about new formats and new ways to watch movies and stuff. I was wondering if Eddie, any memories from shooting that, and then Danny, if you ever went to Universal and did.
No, I never did.
You never saw the 3D?
No, I
experience?
never saw the 3D experience.
I still think that's the best 3D I've ever seen in my life. Is in that. Like, and no disrespect to Avatar, Jim. I know you're watching.
Yeah.
But there's something about the 3D in that was just incredible.
Yeah, I remember when he freezes and I think like the spike or something comes like, oh, shit, like just flies right out in your face. Flies right out in your face. But yeah, that was cool, right? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's
Yeah, he
definitely-
directed that too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And that was what shot 70 millimeter 3D film, right?
I I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure it was. But I remember like the budget for it was ridiculous for like a Universal ride, and
sure, yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. I loved it because I always lived like right off the 101, and you passed Universal all the time, and you could see the building where the ride was. So I miss driving down the 101, being like, yeah, that's my ride. Like that always felt so good to do that. So yeah, now it's like I don't know what the hell it is, like Rugrats or some shit.
I don't know. They took out all the cool movie rides and replaced them all with whatever they replaced them with. Certainly isn't going to live up to the Terminator legendary label. But anyway, guys, be sure to stop by Danny and Eddie's table for the last few hours we have. I know they have a lot more stories. Get some pictures, get some autographs, and give these guys another amazing round of applause.
Thank you.